Hey, well gone, and well gone again, my peoples, my followers, my viewers, my one-os, whatever you guys want me to call ya. Because I love y'all. All of this is only possible because of you guys. Because I can film these videos, but if nobody wants to tune in and watch them, what is the point? But welcome to another session with your boy Yardman 9. Today we're gonna be taking one of my boys, bad boys. He's basically a TM owner. He's a high Capa pistol user like myself. He runs HPA, and anyone who knows anything about high Capas or HPA, when you buy the stock version of the gun, no matter how much you love the gun, as you use it, you're gonna wanna keep growing with it, keep changing things, keep customing, making things better. So throughout his own journey, he's made his own changes, put in speed triggers just to get that consistent spam effect. As you can see, spam. Plus it's red, which is one of his colors, making it more customed and personalized to him. And then you can see the generic-y stuff, like the steel hammer. One thing I will say, man, I know a lot of people are like, oh, you're a Voss guy, and one thing I am is not biased. When something is built well, I will speak about it. In the time that I have utilized these bad boys, who've been around them, 'cause I've been teching high cappers for a little while now, I've seen quite a few of them, and one thing I will give TM for their lower is I love the fact that your lower stuff are steel, so you know that that hammer shouldn't fail you. You know that the internal hammer parts also shouldn't fail you, especially as a HPA user. And the lower steels, like what doesn't need to be metal isn't metal. So things like this, plastic, but things like this, this, solid metal. So yeah, I'm not biased, man. Like I'll show you quickly. This video weren't even about my stuff, but I'll show you quickly. In recent times, I have been playful, and I've even switched out my personal go-to for my indoor to a 4.3. Not even a Vengeance. I end up getting rid of the Vengeance and selling that to man like Dozy. So he's got one of the 1.0 boy guns at the moment. But yeah, this is my go-to indoor. And just to not be biased, because I know everybody's gonna be like, oh, but you see, it's a Vosk. I've also tried to be fair in this journey and given TM a chance in my life. So I built my own custom version, TM, giving it a nice spray paint job, giving it a few internals that I like. I've got a barrel from AirTac that has the adapter already built in, that's 3D printed. I've also sprayed it. I'll do a proper look around this bad boy. I just kind of wanted to show you guys that I even didn't short stroke it, just so that we could see what all these people who hate on my short stroking are talking about, if it's beneficial, whether I leave it like that, etc, etc. So do watch the gameplay whenever you see this bad boy, just so that you can compare it to how I normally go on when I'm dealing with something like my go-to 4.3, for example. So yeah, so trust me, I'm not biased in this thing. I'm fully here for testing it. I've put the Fortune orange bucking, so this thing will hop anything back to about 4.5s comfortably. The other day I ran 2.8s and it was still throwing them away. Like I got about 52 meters, give or take, from a CO2 mag, which is lovely. God, that's crazy from something like this. But yeah, the video wasn't about that. I just wanted to show you guys, cause I've heard so much comments. I've even seen people and they've showed their opinions, and it almost comes across like I'm biased to Vosk. Vosk is an entry-level weapon. I definitely agree, especially if you're a serious airsoft player. It's very entry, but for me, just like anything, it's like cars. If you buy an entry-level car and you want to long-termly compete and be able to compete with people who are at a higher level, you've got to make certain adjustments. And to be fair, even my 4.3, the majority of the upper is still stock. Like I don't tell people that often, but my nozzle and my housing is stock. The only things I've changed on the upper per se is, we'll do this in another video, because this video wasn't for that. So let's keep it moving. So like I was saying, Man like Shawnee, he's at a stage where he wanted to push his high Capa further and get more pristine and professional and personalized to him, and something that was just an overall better performing pistol. You know what I'm saying? Like, he plays a lot of CQB, he wants something he can rely on. He wants, when he aims somewhere, it actually goes where he's aiming. So yes, so like I said, I spoke earlier about him changing out the trigger. That has its own benefits. I won't spend too much time on that. I think it's CTM, they do a set of like custom bits and bobs, and they've released this upper called the Slimline. There's two versions, I believe. There's a 4.3 version and there's a 5.1 version. I believe, if I'm correct, Sean has the 5.1 version. Don't quote me on that, but his version looks longer than the short version, so I believe he's got the 5.1 version. That's basically what I'm working on for him today. You might be like, why have I got his gun in bits? It's because throughout his journey, he's managed to locate things he wants to change. So one of the things recently that's been done is, I believe, they changed out this beaver tail, because this does not look like my stock one. It looks slightly different. I believe also another thing he done in recent times was bought the lower magwell from CTM. So anyone who is, I don't even have one right here with me. Actually, I've got one there. 2 seconds, so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. With the magwell, a lot of people are like, oh, why you do it just for appearance? It does have its benefits. In them quick situations, you can find it quick and you're there. Do you get what I'm saying? So I do kind of like it. Even if you notice, most of my high cappers tend to have magwells. Even if it's just a basic magwell, it tends to have a magwell. Even my TM, I put a Vosk magwell on it, just so that, like I said, in those techie situations, rather than you fumbling, it's literally like, find it, it's in, you're good to go back on your gameplay. So yeah, I don't wrong him for this. Plus, I don't really like the price that CTM sell this stuff, but I don't wrong him. It looks really nice. It makes the lower have a more custom, speed soft, cool, carbony look, and it's very light. That's one thing I will say. It's made out of some kind of aluminium or something that's very light. Does feel like it could hold a beating. So why am I here? There was two things Sean basically needed me to do. A few days ago, he linked me, and essentially what had happened is, because we play a lot of indoors, CQB, etc. Anyone who knows how CQB works, you need a tracer. If you do not have a tracer, you're just not going to enjoy the gameplay how you're meant to, because you cannot see where those BBs are flying. It's just like anything, like paintball, etc. If you can't see where something is going, it's almost like you're guess shooting. Now, what happened was, Sean had managed to somehow shoot his tracer off. So what happened was, the adapter had snapped off but left half of it in, and that was the half that was attached to the, you see like how you have threading along here? That was the half that was, so it was still threaded in there essentially. So I had to find a way to get out the first bit, which kind of broke off anyway, so that was cool. And then the bit that was on the inside, for a lot of you guys, there's a nub screw right here that if you relieve that, what it does is relieves the tension happening inside this barrel area, which allows you to kind of just work the rest of it out, because it's got like a what do you call it, like a little cutout. So essentially what you're trying to do is turn, get this to the stage where it hits that cutout hole, and that's where that snub screw would essentially see into. So when you've removed that knob screw, it allows there to be an opening for you to turn something like a, I'll show you. This content is for my Patreoners. Something like this, that's very thin, that you can kind of just nozzle in and slowly turn. What you're trying to do is avoid scraping the inside of this upper rail. So be very careful when you do that. Not much pressure is needed. Once you work out what way relieves it and you're not tightening it, you're alright. Just take your time. It saves you scratching your barrel. Sorry I sound like I sound, but I suffer with a severe hay fever and I refuse to take any tablets today. I've taken them all week and I've still been worse than this. So I kind of want to see what it's like if I don't take it, if you get what I mean. What am I saying next? So essentially we done the first fix already for him. That one I didn't do on cam, but all I essentially did was I put 2 O-rings on the back end of his adapter. Now what that will do is allow every time that the slide moves and hits this front section, so I'll show you guys how this system works. Every time that motion happens, what was happening was too much pressure was hitting this end, which is why I believe it just kind of broke off eventually. With those two O-rings sitting on that end and me also not tightening it all the way in, it means that number one, there's a little relief of recoil pressure once that hit happens, relieving through the space, putting less pressure on this adapter and that midsection. Plus I've Loctited it rather than tightened it all the way in, so it has something seating in the threading as opposed to it being locked very tight, which is why that snap probably happened, because once repeated pressure is added to the area through the motion of the slide moving, bang, 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 bang. If it's solid, there's no leverage of movement. With the O-rings now, there is leverage of movement, plus there's something absorbing some of that recoil. So hopefully Sean gets on really well with this new one. And again, it was quite a quick fix. We got this from BZ. I think we ordered it Thursday. It was with me by Friday morning. Yeah, it was with me by Friday morning. And yeah, like you can see, we're now on Saturday and it's done. I done the work yesterday. It's dried, it's solid. We're gonna give that a test on Monday at his next game day out at Future. So that was the first fix, but I kind of wanted to show you guys this because I've spoke a lot about the Slimline, but I've never had one on the channel, and it does have a few benefits. I won't sit on it too heavy because that's not what this video is about, but they've got a lot of benefits like the TDC upper, so you don't have to take off the top slide to adjust anything. They've got this cutout right here where you can put in a red dot which kind of seats into the body of the gun, which is really nice for aimability. What else can I talk about? They give you the ability to add this charging handle. The fiber optic setup is pretty nice. Like, that's one thing I will say, the fiber optic setup is pretty nice. And I'll put that bit together so you can still see the full setup. So what you get is like, if it will see correct, what you get is these two, and then these front two, which is where that whole fiber optic setup is happening. And then if you look directly down just past my finger, what you get is this front section right here as well. So it's really, trust me, I've shot this a few times myself. It's a really nice setup, and it's quite affordable. It even works on the Vosk lower. I was kind of worried about that because I was gonna buy one before for my Vosk, but I was worried about compatibility because they advise only TMs, but it did fit and it did work, and I never had any jammage issues. So I'm tempted to buy one of these for my Vosk. And then part two of why we're actually here doing this video, and there's other things I could show you, like I said, the charging handle, the nozzle setup is quite interesting as well. It's like it doesn't have to travel half the distance because it's a short stroke setup. So yeah, it is very interesting what CTM have managed to build here, but that's not why we're here. Why we're actually here is for these two bad boys. So essentially what Sean over the time of his journey has done is he's accumulated some very good parts, but they're separate. So what we're trying to do is find a way to get him the best build rather than him having multiple great parts on different things. Essentially is the long and short of it. So I'll run through this real quick just so that this is not a long thing or confusing for anybody. So essentially what we have on the top here is a maple leaf high Capa hop up, but it doesn't have the right guide wheel. So I'm gonna change it out today. That's because when we opened the packet, for some reason the manufacturer had missed the guide wheel, so we had to go and get one from where we bought it from as a replacement. So I'll be changing that out today. What we also have in there is a 50-degree bucking from Maple Leaf. It's one of the ones, don't quote me on this, but it's from the Decepticon, that kind of range there. I know they do two versions. They do like a kind of like a see-through version, and they also do like a full solid color version. This is the full solid 50-degree version with the metal ring that goes around it. I've already installed it, so you may see me take it down today while I'm doing the work, but essentially that's what's in there. That's why you can see the green knob. And then for a barrel, if I remember correctly, this is just a standard 5.1 barrel from the original. What barrel did he grab this out of? I think this is the original TM barrel from a 5.1. So it's not the longest barrel, but it's a good size, very good size. Does the job, to be fair. Placement's pretty good, etc. And then secondly, what we have is the TM hop. So stock hop, everything's stock, even the guide wheel. But what we have again is the 50-degree Decepticon, if I'm correct, bucking from maple leaf on the insides. And you can even see the metal ring on this one. It looks like this one's moved around a bit, because that should not be there. So yeah, it definitely looks like that's moved around. That shouldn't be there. That should be, and this is maybe where his first problem has arrived from. I'm only just seeing this now, because that's the barrel that was originally in the gun. If you have a look, you shouldn't be able to see this metal ring right here, because what should be seen in there is that rectangle cutout that they set for the hop up. So that's probably his first issue. So we'll fix that for him today. And the barrel is a maple leaf, I think they're called fire jets or jet fire, something like that. Jet fires. What is the bloody barrel called? Maple leaf jet, something jet, basically. It's a really good barrel. Essentially, like you can see, unlike the other barrel next to it, is this barrel is the maple leaf. It has two barrels. What that does is it allows you to lose less airflow as that BB flies and leaves the barrel, giving you a more consistent fly pattern as well as a more consistent airflow. So your shots should be one after the other, placement wise a lot better, based upon the build, the way it's built compared to the standard barrels. It is in some kind of steel, I guess, which is always nice, because that stuff always tends to last a bit longer than the cheaper stuff. But one thing I will say, as a high Capa user, I've had great times with brass. I've had amazing times with brass barrels. It's very rare that I've had issues unless they're really cheap ones, like a cheap ass AEG, where as you're rubbing it you can feel the metal coming off on your fingers. But anything kind of standardy, decent brand upwards, Raven, that kind of stuff upwards, it tends to be a decent enough quality that you can kind of keep it for quite some time until you're ready to upgrade. So yeah, so just to be clear, essentially what I'm trying to do is pull the best parts out of these two setups and make them one, so that they can go back into the slimline, and he can essentially have the best upper setup he can, because he'll have the CTM 5.1, which is just meant to be amazing for shot after shot, and then a great aiming system with accuracy. So I think what I'm gonna go for, because I know a lot of people might have their own opinions, what I'm gonna go for is this wheel, just because you have more playability on the wheel. Won't speak too heavily on that, but more playability on the wheel, as opposed to the stock wheel that maybe has half of that playability. So it just gives you a lot more control over where and what you do with your BB, or what weights you can even shoot, which is very cool. I probably will go for the maple leaf hop up itself, just because shot to shot placement, and maybe even for the sake of distance, yeah, you probably will get a good setup. Plus I think I'm gonna go for the Crazy Jet. That's what it's actually called, Crazy Jet. I think I'm gonna go for the Crazy Jet barrel, just because number one, it's a bit more longer, so if he was to ever game this stuff outdoors, he would have a bit more leverage in terms of longer distance shooting. And plus, like, I've just heard amazing things about that Crazy Jet, so I feel like if you've got that in your loader, it's probably should be the main barrel, and then you maybe just keep your standard 5.1 barrel for any days that something breaks, or you want to test something cool, whatever it is. Say you want to lower your velocity or whatever it is, you can always go back to the smaller barrel. So I think that's what I'm going to go for his setup. So without further ado, I'm going to stop all this chatting, and for those of you who probably stayed through the video trying to work out what thread I put on the front end of that, the thread is actually called AW Customs 11mm counterclockwise to 14mm CCW thread adapter black. I could give you the barcode and all those things, but from you go on BZ and type that in, they're pretty good at kind of bringing up the item. If you have any issues, give us a shout and I'll send you a link. So yeah, let's get into it. Most of his stuff has been cleaned and greased. I did this before he bought me the barrel setup, so you'll see even today, once I start reassembling things, I probably won't overly grease everything, and it's because it's been pre-greased already and it hasn't been gamed since. So don't add extra grease that doesn't really need to be there. So I think what we're gonna do is put that stuff aside for a second so that we can focus on the barrel stuff. And I'm just gonna start deassembling things so that I can essentially get the things I need from each setup. So there's, like you guys know, there's always the 2 screws. I'm gonna go for a better screwdriver than the one I picked out a second ago. Yeah, that one's a lot better. There are these 2 screws and you just want to remove them. Don't want to apply too much force because we're not trying to unthread them. So what I do is I tend to loosen one side just a little bit, go over to my other side, start loosening. So rather than one side being really tight and the other side being really loose, you're gradually doing it, gradually. So yeah, essentially that's that. So I've got to a stage where I can now separate them, and what I have on the other side is one side of a hop, like you can see. So I'm going to chuck that to one side there, and then like I said, you've got the clip, you've literally got the arm, you've got the eye key, and then you've got your guide wheel, which looks like it's been broken off. Oh, so his hop is no longer good. So maybe these were the things that was causing him problems. That's good to know. So it was probably good he bought this new maple leaf hop, because I don't know if you guys can see it, that's not meant to happen. So this little bar in the middle that's moving, that metal thing you can see, shouldn't be there, because it should be stuck on the hop itself. That little thing right there, it should be on the hop, and you can kind of see it missing on the hop anyway. It should be in this little section right here. So that's probably his first problem. And not his first problem, because I found a few of them. Pull that stuff down. I have to give everything a wipe over as well, just to be safe. But I won't keep everything for each build. It's only specific things I want for specific parts of the build. So I'd averagely be using a dust cloth to do this stuff, but because I'm gonna re-wipe this stuff anyway, right now I'm just more wiping to see, once I remove grease, what everything actually looks like. So we'll probably start with his bucking quick, just briefly. I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this because I know there's a new one in that one. I just want to see how good of state his original one is in. It is a bit ripped though. You can see some wear and tear right there, like it's been chewed away. That's normally through the bounce back off the nozzle. Doesn't look great, but it doesn't look terrible. It's not the worst one I've seen. It could do with a little cleanup. So at some point I will probably see if I can service it and see if it will work for him. Like I said, I don't want to spend a lot of time. I just want to quickly degrease it so I can just see what's damaged from what's not damaged, to just see if this is worth giving back to him and saying, okay, I think you should hold on to this just as a backup rubber, or if it's just one of them things, chuck in a bin. It looks alright, just a little wear and tear, like I said, up the top, like something's bit a little section out, but he should be alright. I wouldn't make it my main rubber, but it is definitely a decent backup rubber. I'm gonna run over to his barrel quickly now. This is the barrel I do want to use, so I'm gonna run an actual barrel clean on this. Yeah, because I can see it. I just run it up to the light. You can see this barrel is dirty, so I'm gonna run a barrel clean on this, but this will be my chosen barrel today to use for his build, because it's the better of the two on paper. I'm do you know what, let me grab my cleaning kit so we can just fly through this. I've got 2 builds that I'm trying to do today, and then I've got to sort out my stuff because me and Sean is actually going out this Monday. So we're gonna keep this barrel, like I said. We're gonna put that hop to the side because technically one side of that's broken, so maybe he could keep one side of it as a backup part, but the other side is actually broken. And then we're gonna do the same with his maple leaf. We're gonna just loosen one side, loosen the other side. Not too much force because I don't want to thread those screws. Go back to the other side. Anyone knows any hacks for hay fever, please bring me in, because all this sniff is actually doing my head in. Okay, so we're gonna pull that down. We'll put that to one side. Look how beautiful she looks on the inside. So you can already see this compared to the other one I just did, a lot cleaner, and it's because I haven't run anything through there. Not even one shot has been through there. I think it's probably seated 1 BB just so that we could test that the system was working, but it's never shot anything through it since I've set it up for him. So we're gonna pull this down because I do like his hop wheel. No, not his hop wheel, sorry. I like his arm. The arm is still, so we're gonna use that one. There's an I key that just fell. Some people might be like, what the hell is that? That essentially helps the hop up do what it's trying to do. So I'm gonna probably use the maple leaf one because I want the system to work as one, how it was intended to work. Any other parts or anything like that, we can always change things out to find the best performance for him long term. And then what we're gonna do is pull that off. Like you can see already, so it's so clean compared to his original, and like I said, it's because it's not shot anything. There's probably a bit of grease where it's been sat inside the gun, but apart from that, he should be all good. Beautiful, she looks pretty, so I'm going to definitely use that one. I'm going to put that to one side as his backup because I like to salvage as much parts as you can. We spend money on these things, so you want to make sure that if something is actually still usable, chuck it in a little box. That's my go-to box if something breaks. Do you get what I'm saying? It just removes the stress of you ever having to worry about oh, I need to buy that thing, because you've got bare of them in spare. You know what I'm saying? You've spent the money, utilize the benefits of that money you've spent. I know some people that overdo that statement. They use something even after it's broken, but trust me, get your money's worth. And then, like I said, we have the other side, which we're also going to keep. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this wheel, just to show you quickly. Remove this wheel, and do you notice there's an O-ring and the arm is still there? That's what you want your hop-up to look like. If it doesn't look like that, your hop-up's broken and needs replacing. So we're going to put this wheel to one side because we don't need this wheel at the moment. And we're going to take this wheel from Maple Leaf, which in fact they charge a tenner for, so it better be a bloody good wheel. And it is a good wheel from what I can see, because like I said, the turnability compared to, and I'll even show you that briefly, because I speak a lot about that in other videos and I don't ever actually show you guys it. So let me show you quickly, so all of this stuff starts to make sense. Everything flying everywhere. So if you have a look at this wheel and the space in between, that little curl going around, and if you have a look at this wheel, so I'll show you briefly. On this wheel, it can turn from here all the way round back to the other end, so it's basically giving you a 360. With this wheel, it only turns halfway. And what that essentially means is when tension is being added or removed from your BB or hop or whatever, rubber, whatever it's adding tension to, you have more play with this one. Whereas with this one, you only have half the amount of play. So like I said, in terms of exercising what specific weight you want to use, or how far you want it to fly, or if you want it to drop off, or if you want it to fly and then end up upwards, or however you want to set your setup up, this is why I'm going for this bad boy for Sean, because I feel like he'll have more playability, a lot more playability, double the playability in theory on paper. So that's why we're going for that one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by cleaning his barrel, because this is the barrel I know he's gamed a lot. So we want to clean it, remove any gunk, dirt, anything, potential rust build up, retreat it, etc. So I'm not going to speak too heavily on what cleaning kit and all this stuff, because everybody has their preference. I have my preference of the companies I use. But as long as you got the right stuff, that's the important bit. I think I'm going to buff it afterwards and then clean it one more time. We probably put maybe 200-300 shots through this bloody thing, so, and that's outside of gameplay. In gameplay, he's probably put maybe about maybe that's a cap. He's probably put maybe about 12k rounds through this pistol since he's had it. Doesn't sound like a lot, but bruv, that's a lot. That's a lot. Not as much as some men, but that's a lot. For somebody like Sean who doesn't do YouTube, or yeah, that's a lot. So anyone who knows gas blowback, you wanna, anything that runs gas or CO2, you wanna maintain it game to game, or every couple games at least. I have a rule with my high cappers. If I take it out and I put more than 400-500 rounds through it that night, I have to at least take it down and just have a look. Any damage was done, if something's overly greasy, if something's too dry, you know what I'm saying, you want to check your weapons. There's a lot of people who end up having to buy new weapons every 4 to 6 months, and this is why maintenance or lack of maintenance. So I'm not saying you want to overdo it. I know some guys, they'll open a gun 4 or 5 times per game. There's no need. Do you get what I'm saying? And at points I have been that guy myself, but yeah, you just want to maintain it. You just want to keep an eye on things. So if something's on its way to breaking, you're aware of that. If something's performing well, you're aware of that. If something needs upgrading or replacing, or even just maintenance work done to it, you're aware of that. So his barrel wasn't crazy dirty, but I do see little specks. The camera probably won't show it up great, but I do see that. So I'm kind of glad I did that. I tend to go through both sides, just give it a rub through, because sometimes you get grease build up in the weirdest spots. You want to be very careful that you're not scratching the person's barrel, so you want a very steady approach. It's more like a put in, and I kind of just turn and twist. So as it's going through the barrel, it's minimal hopping around, but it's still getting a chance to spin and turn and twist and clean, do what we want it to do. You can see it, the paper's actually turned a different color. Like, you can see it, one's bright and one's quite dark now. It's not the dirtiest barrel I've seen, but it is dirty. And then I tend to kind of give the barrel itself a once over on the outside. And if you'll notice, we've got a nice little glimmering barrel again. It's already starting to look better. As a little side thing, I tend to try and buff some of these barrels. I don't buff everything, but with stuff like this, I try to buff it just ever so slightly. Let's have a look. She looks alright, but I don't like how dusty she still looks. So I think it's where I just run the buffer through her. I should have maybe done that first. Yeah. So I'm gonna run this one last time through her, because she's buffed nice, but now I've got thorough down here. So don't be like me, do it the other way around. Some people don't even buff it, but because this is not my gun or not my barrel, and there's times that Sean has gone out without me to play, which ain't an issue, but I don't know what happened on that day or what the circumstance was like. So I tried to just give, yeah, do you see, I'm glad I did that. And now I've buffed it and I've cleaned it again after the buff. It looks like a brand new barrel on the inside. I wish I could actually show you guys if the camera would zoom, but I'd have to probably put light underneath it so you guys could see, but I don't even know how I would do that. Maybe a flashlight or something. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's very clear. Like it looks like, you know, like one of them showroom barrels. And I'm not even just saying it because I'm the one who done the work, but it looks like it genuinely, when I put it up to the light, even me, I haven't seen a barrel that I've cleaned like that in a long while. Not to say that I'll rush people's barrel, but that one looks really nice on the inside. So yeah, sometimes take your time and just buff things, guys. Make sure it's buffed correct. And then clean it after, just to remove the excess fur and all of that nonsense out of there. I see it nicely. Often I like to do a BB check after I've chucked that barrel on. Make sure you see it correct as well, because it has to hit that line, but I'm never gonna, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you shouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now anyway. Okay, so I can see that it's not tensioning the way I want it to just yet. Because essentially when I run a BB through it, what I want is it to seat there, but as I push it, I want it to reseat one more time in that second chamber, yeah? But I'm gonna retest that once I've put the whole system together. So I'm not gonna really clean none of this because I don't wanna add any excess harsh liquids like what's this thing called, rubbing alcohol, any of these things. I don't want to damage anything I don't need to damage. This is clean, like I said, it's never been shot, so I'm just going to go straight back into it. So I'm going to grab my hop wheel and I'm going to make sure it's the right side up. Chuck that on top. You always want that little buffer rubber underneath because it just allows turnability to happen a lot more easier. You can operate without it, but once you screw it in, you'll notice that turnability just won't exist if there is no buffer rubber. So yeah, take advice from big bro. or suffer the consequences. So I'm gonna seat that and I'm just gonna spin that over and show you something. Do you remember the other one, the black one that I took out? It wasn't seated perfectly. You always want to see the seating before you carry on going, because if you carry on going and it's not seated correctly, you're essentially wasting your time because you're gonna have to go back and redo it again. So I'm gonna hold that in place. Then I'm gonna go for my arm. And even before I go for my arm, I'm gonna put the system down for a second because this next bit is very important. This is one thing I see so many techs get wrong on guns that are bought to me by other people and they're bragging up the tech. You see this arm? How this arm works is there's an eye. You want the eye to seat. Let me show you. Because the eye has two sides. You want the eye to seat. Come on, fiddly little bits. And I've got shaky hands today. You want the eye to seat this way. So it's V'd up in this way. So the V is headed up towards you. And I say that to say this: if the V is the opposite way, every time you add tension, the tension isn't actually being added. It's the V here that allows the press down on the top section here. And I'll even pull it off for a sec. On that top section here, to allow the backspin to happen, because as I apply force, even you might even be able to see it, there's a little cutout. As I apply force, that's what adds the tension. So you have to seat the eye correctly. I see so much text, trust me, I've taken down probably about 60 hop-ups and I've seen that problem and I'm like, how did somebody charge you for this and they haven't even seated it correctly? But anyways, we'll keep moving. So I'm going to seat that back in that rectangle again, flip that over to double check, all seated, perfect. And then I'm going to take my eye set up, and this is where it gets a bit fiddly because obviously you've got to keep the eye in that position and kind of turn it over, ready to go on the wheel. So it's a bit fiddly, especially while you're filming, but I think I've got there. Just about. And you want that little knob to slide right into the wheel. Because if it is not in the wheel, that hop-up system isn't doing what you want it to do. So essentially you want something that looks kind of like this. Let me grab my little tools to show ya. You want something that you can see the force being applied to that little square in the hop up. If that isn't there, you got to take down the system and actually start again. And you also want to make sure the second bit you're looking for is, if you look at the wheel, you can see that the arm is sitting in the wheel. So if I turn this wheel, it will adjust the tension at the top of that system. Yeah. Then we want to take the top half of our hop up, and we want to chuck that on and seat that correctly so everything's seating where it's meant to. And what I tend to do is give that a little wibble, wobble, wibble, wobble. Make sure the screws are seated, spin that over just to make sure everything's flush like it should be. And then I start my screwing process. Now with this, I've heard so many opinions. Listen if you want, don't listen if you don't want. But I'll tell you how I get my performance. I screw a little bit in on the front, because what I'm trying to do is secure the front barrel end, but I'm not trying to unlevel the whole system. So then I go back to the back and I start screwing there, but then I stop and then I go back to the front and screw a little bit, and then I go back to the back and screw a little bit. Now some people might be like, oh, why do you do all of that? It doesn't make sense, etc. It does. Essentially what I want the system to do is be balanced. If one side is too tight and the other side is too loose, what you have is a hop up that sits off, so your barrel isn't even straight. Plus you have a bucking that won't seat well, and a whole other system that the more pressure that's added, you're just going to lift your wheel and lift your arm and eventually just cause breakages. That's probably what caused the problem in Sean's original arm, that caused the arm to snap off, because obviously if it doesn't seat correct and you've got 120 psi running for 400-500 shots, yeah, the pressure just eventually breaks the system because it's not seated how it wants to be seated essentially. So I'm gonna finish tightening. You don't want to break none of the screws or overset them, so I tighten until I feel it's solid enough. And if you want, you can always add Loctite depending on what you're going for, but I'm not going to do that because I don't think that there's any need at this stage. Now what I tend to do is do like a turn test just to make sure that this wheel actually moves like you're seeing happen. And as you turn that wheel, like you can see the top section up here will either push down or push up. And essentially all that's happening there is it's adding or removing pressure to your backspin off the BB. So now there's no pressure or minimal pressure. And as I turn it on, I'm adding maximum pressure to the BB. So that would probably hop 3.2s or 3.6 or whatever it is. Whereas Sean will probably run this indoors. So I'm going to drop it back to somewhere about here, 2s, 2.5s, somewhere about there, 2.25-ish. I think that's what Sean runs, 2s or 2.5. So I'm going to leave it there and we'll see how he gets on that first night, because I'll be out there with him. So I'll go with him just to chrono and just make sure everything's running. Plus, because this is going into a TDC system style upper, he won't have the takedown problem that most people have. Oh, I need to reset the weight. Now back to the easy bits, reassemblement. So we're going to slide that in this way, run that through, make sure that's leveled up. You can see that my barrel is hanging where I want it to hang through, and then we're just going to slap that in like that. The one thing I love about the Maple Leaf system compared to the original system is it just seats there perfectly, whereas with the other system you have to proper rock it out and pull it out and add all this extra force. This one literally seats there. It's like it was built to seat there, so it's lovely. Lovely little setup, making teching and usability for the user like much simpler and user friendly, if you want to call it that. Then we're gonna go over to the other side and we're gonna try and seat everything just to make sure it seats first, because I'm gonna add grease. But before I do that, I just want to make sure everything seats correctly how I want it to, or else you're gonna have to take down a very greasy setup to make those adjustments. Is that seated where I want it to? Not quite, almost. There we are, that's where I want you to seat. So now we can see that the system is seating. What we want to do is just move it backwards and forwards like that, just to make sure that that movement's happening. Don't be like me and do what I just did, because you're not trying to pull the system out of itself. So let me just reset this. In theory, you should do this while the upper is on the actual gun, but I'm a tech. I do things I shouldn't. So let me just take this back down for a second. I want to show you guys that it does actually work. So I did it in a way that I probably shouldn't have shown you guys. So yeah, let's do it the sensible way. So we want to seat that, like I said, seat that, do it in a sensible way. And then we want to pull that back, line that up, boom, snap that into place. And like you can see, that's seating like it should. Now, if you're gonna be sensible, which you should do, save your parts breaking, put it back onto your lower. This one is a bit stiff, I need to re-grease his a bit. And then you wanna seat that and kind of reassemble the gun just slightly, just to see if everything seats. So you see that's gone through perfectly. You wanna just secure that, and like you can see that's gone through. And we just wanna cycle a couple times just to make sure what we wanted to happen is happening. And that looks all good. So what I'm gonna do now is just take everything back down. The seating is a bit crazy though. That's because he doesn't have, I get it, it's nice though. It's a really nice setup, I'm telling you. Even this TDC thing, I feel like his TDC could be tightened. It feels mad loose for some reason. But I'll look into that for him, because that might just be the screw, might just be coming loose, because it feels like his TDC isn't working. So yeah, I'm gonna have a look into that before I give it back to him. But so far so good. So what we wanted to happen is happening. Let's take this off. And it can be a tight fit because everything does fit pretty snug. So it might look like I'm forcing things, but you kind of have to, because you have to remember CTM has built something for another brand. So it's not like they built a CTM high Capa and then this is the upper for the high Capa. It's built for something else. So you will have some times you got to add a little back muscle into it, but you're not breaking anything, don't worry. So the issue I wanted to have a look at was his TDC doesn't seem to be doing what I want it to do. I think he might have even broke his TDC, because look at that movement on the TDC. Okay, no, it is doing it. Okay, fair. It is definitely doing it. Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure. It's always wise, because what you're looking for is, you see that movement of this screw, that's what's adding or removing tension. So yeah, perfect. Perfect. Just had me worried for a sec. I was like, why is your TDC moving like that? So before I strap everything back together, I'm literally gonna just grease the areas that I would like greased. Some of it, I know some people are gonna be like, oh, you didn't need to grease that area, but I like to do it because metal on metal contact is a thing. And I find that when you don't grease something and expect it not to rust, you just upsetting your own self, because science is science. So I'm gonna grab a few cotton buds, grab my specialized grease. There's many things you could use for different areas, but with Sean, because Sean tends to tech a lot of his stuff these days with me, I know the history of the weapon or what it's been through or what we've used previously, so we won't have any clashes. It's not like a new client who brings me something and I've got to chase the history of the weapon. Like this is something that I've seen before he even bought it. He spoke to me about it as well. So yeah, man. History of a weapon is very important as a tech, so you understand what do's and don'ts, because somebody might have used a certain type of grease that if you use a different type of grease, it might start eroding the body. But most techs won't tell you this. They'll say, it's your gun, or you left it in water, and some of these things often are true. But yeah, this is why, like I said, one of my main things before I take anything from anyone is the history, learning the history of the weapon, and was it pre-owned or did you buy this brand new? Is this the first time it's being opened, etc. These are the things that lets you know do's and don'ts. Some people might disagree with me for still using this cotton bud, but like I said, I've serviced his weapon recently, so I know I shouldn't degrease it again, because if I do that I'd probably cause damage, because it has fresh grease. It's not, he hasn't got 100 or even 200 shots out of this weapon since I degreased it last time, so this is probably just dust and stuff that's built up over the time it's been sat here, kind of thing. Which is why it's good to game your guns quite often, or just don't have them. I know some people will disagree with what I'm doing, but we run HPA, so I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, specifically for Sean as well. So that's those two sides. I just want to do the lower quickly, apply some grease to the plunger and the plunger kit and all of that stuff, just so that that stuff stays in good nick as well. And you know, I'll probably even leave that, because I did that last time, so it's not needed. You guys want me to do a video of where I grease and why I grease those specific areas, you can let me know in the comments. I know there's so much opinions around this stuff, and I'm here to hear it. But I have my, because I play myself, I have my reasons, man. I've had my own experiences with these particular areas not being greased and parts breaking and etc. So yeah, I have my reasons why there's specific areas I focus on more than others. If I'm doing a full takedown for somebody, yeah, I'll do everything, but at this stage we want to just get Sean up and running, ready for Monday with this new setup, to see if it outperforms his last setup, if he enjoys himself, if it's reliable, if he has any problems that night as well, because with his original setup it worked, but he did have problems. Every game day there was something I needed to fix, and I'm not saying that to complain, I'm saying that as a fellow player, it showed me he hadn't hit his pinnacle in terms of his loadout or set up for that kind of gameplay, which was CQB. So, which is why I'm willing to help him right now with this, because I feel like we're very close to it, if not, if we haven't already just hit it with this current update to the build. So we'll see how he gets on Monday. Even sounds lovely, man. So as you guys can see, we're getting that follow up every time. I reckon he could spam, because of how nice that follow up is looking. I tend to do one more test, which is that nozzle retention. Like I said, I just want to see if the BB seats where I want it to seat on loading. Okay, we can't use you, you fell on the floor now. We'll use another one from here. So essentially I'm trying to seat the BB, which it looks like it's seating, and what I tend to do is release the BB, and if the BB falls all the way through the barrel, you haven't done something correct, because that's what you just see happen, is what would be happening between each shot. As this comes backwards and forwards, it would load another BB into that section and slam it right into the chamber, ready for when you click that trigger and that release happens, that release happens and sends that BB down. So if you notice, even though I've done that a few times, that BB is positioned perfectly, ready for flight, ready to go. And there's adjustments I can do to the TDC now, which in theory I don't think I need to really do per se, because I've preset his hop anyway on the inside. So this is just to be extra if you want to add. Boom, I think I've just found it right there. Perfect. Yeah, so if you want to get it where it currently is, but yeah, with this build I think we are done. Gonna just debrief it a little bit. But yeah, lovely. It's a lovely little setup. Lovely little setup. Lovely little setup. I would buy myself one. I just don't think I'm ready to go over to this. I don't believe the hype yet. I'd have to see how Sean gets on with his one for maybe 6 to 9 months, because like I said, my little 5.1, it doesn't fail me. My little 4.3, it doesn't fail me. They genuinely don't. Like, it's very rare. If you see me sit out a game, it's normally because I'm fixing somebody else's problem, not my own. And if I am fixing my own, it's because normally they're telling me my velocity is too high or something around that format. So I'm trying to level out the playing field so it doesn't feel like cheating. Yeah, Sean's slimline TM build. She looks pretty. And she looks cool, because now you can see the little, yeah, bro, she looks lovely. I'm gonna have to send him a picture, but yeah. That's us, we're done today, peeps. That's the first one. I'm gonna obviously save some of the things for him in terms of parts and stuff, like his barrel. I think that's savable. The other half of the hop up, I think that's also savable. I feel like his arm, that's also savable. I feel like his wheel, that's also savable. But that I would let go. Bring that screw over. The eye looks snapped in the middle, but I'm gonna review that afterwards for him. Yeah, so there's a lot that he can save. Even the rubber, we can save that as well. So he's got half of another hop up ready to go on another burner. So I'm saying, like, you can't go wrong when you upgrade parts, especially if you look after your stuff and actually do the review period to work out what's still in good nick and what's not still in good nick. So yeah, what I would say is, until the next one, people, thank you for sticking with us for bloody hell, nearly an hour. Love you guys for that. This is Sean's high Capa 4.3 slimline build, or 5.1 slimline build.